Hello, everyone. My name is Myra, and I am here joined with three amazing therapists. And we're here to talk about the business side of rapid transformational therapy. So, of course, we all join this to help people, and we're all passionate about that. But at the end of the day, I always get questions about what if I invest all of this money, right, in the getting trained to be an RTT therapist? Like, can I start a business? What does it take? What does it look like? And so we're here to just give you our perspective on what we did to start an RTT business. And I'm going to give a little bit of background because what's super interesting is that every single person here has a different perspective and comes from a completely different background. So I'll start with Osman. He actually comes from a business and IT background. He's spent a lot of time kind of moving up the ranks in the technology side and is now a clarity and productivity coach, an entrepreneur, and an energy worker. Has about 15 years of experience combining all of these different strategies and methodologies. I can't speak now. But definitely comes from this kind of IT kind of business background and now has completely switched and is doing RTT and coaching. Abigail Moss, on the other hand, actually has an arts degree. Is that right, Abigail?
I have a graphic design and photography background.
Okay.
Unofficial degree. Let's call it that.
Okay. And now is a founder of Mind Body Free. And she actually combines RTT with shamanic healing and also has a mentorship program for women. She's kind of trained in quite a few different things. And Abigail, I'm going to ask you to actually give us a little bit more about what this all means, because I don't know, but you've kind of trained to be a shaman, medical Qigong therapist, and of course you're a hypnotherapist through RTT. For those of us who don't know, what is a shaman?
That's a great question, and I get that a lot. So a shaman is someone who helps you heal the spiritual aspect of an issue. Mm-hmm. So we also work with energy, we work with beliefs, we work with the mind and the body and nature.
Nice. Yeah. So Abigail's more kind of focused on plant medicines, right? Like kind of natural healing, using the body as it's using its own kind of medicine and therapy.
Yeah, that was definitely my awakening journey is with plant medicines. It kind of opened up a lot of healing in me. And then I learned how to do all of this shamanic and hypnotherapy stuff to kind of get back there anytime.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And then last but not least, we have Monica Lewin. So she actually comes from kind of what you would consider been a therapist almost her whole life. She has a degree in psychology. She's trained in NLP and coaching. She actually did Marisa's training, has met Marisa in person. So she's gone deep in kind of the mind work and NLP. She's a master and teacher in neuro-linguistic programming, has 33 years of experience with individual, group, family, and couple psychotherapy. So for those of you who, are a therapist, are a psychotherapist, and are saying what can RTT do for me? Monica can kind of provide that perspective. So literally we have the whole ground covered, right? Like business, IT, healing. I'm a therapist already. We've all somehow come to RTT, right? And so maybe I'm just going to start super broad and just allow each one of you to talk about why RTT, what brought you to RTT in the first place. Maybe I'll start with Osman.
Thank you. And I must say, wow, impressive. 33 years shamanic healing. Wow. I have some knowledge and experience in shamanic healing, so let's catch up after this if you're okay with that. RTT, I met her, I guess most of you did, through Mind Family. Last year in February, I went to, I guess it was a date with Marisa or something like that, 2 days live event in London. That's where I met her, agreed with her, and then they talked about the program, and it was impressive, right? It helps so many people, it is effective, and I signed up for it, but it was, what I really like about it is that it's systemized, right? Before this, I used my own intuition in a way, and when I helped the client, every time it was different. And what's beautiful is that there is a system that you follow. with results that come. If you follow the system, you get the results. So that's really beautiful about that. But also before that, I use my intuition and energy healing to give that extra on top to get even further.
Yeah. And Monica, I'm actually going to ask you specifically. So you are already super trained, right? NLP and other things. Like, what got you to even consider RTT?
Somebody spoke to me about Marisa, and I started watching her in Mind Valley. And then I met her at the Best You Expo in London. And I went to, she made 3 different speeches, and I was impressed. I loved her. So I started talking to her, and I asked her, I've been a therapist for many years. Do you think this knowledge will help me? And she said yes. So I booked on the online course. Afterwards, I trained with her in London. And I think that what I did before, I do it better now. As Osman says, one of the good things of RTT is that the knowledge is systematized. And I sometimes combine it. I combine it a lot with NLP, which makes it better for me. But just having something systematized is the guarantee that the sessions will be great. And I really see a difference. I'm helping people much more than before, and the results are amazing. It's really beautiful, and I feel very happy that I can help more people and help them better than before.
Is there a difference between NLP and RTT?
Yes, there is. In some part they are similar, and in others they are different. Both are excellent for therapy. Marisa goes to the root cause, and we work in hypnosis, and that is spectacular. But I think the best is to combine them both, because in NLP we work a lot with submodalities and how to communicate with every person, and always adapting ourselves to the client we have in front of us. And combining both makes it still better.
Okay, makes sense. Abigail, so why RTT? And then also if you can speak to, I know you combine kind of your background and the modalities that you're trained in with RTT as well. So if you can speak a little bit about how you do that.
Yeah, gladly. Also, so much respect to everyone here. And Monica, 30 years experience. Amazing. Yeah, so I agree a lot with both of what Osman and Monica have said. I find that, RTT, I could do a lot with shamanic healing, but I was relying a lot on my intuition. And it made for some sessions that were amazing and others that felt like I was just putting a lot of energy in and not getting as far as I could. So the RTT was this container of support and structure that I know I could always rely on in the session to help my clients get what they needed. And it also opened up a lot of doors. So, a lot of people don't understand what shamanism is, or, they have different beliefs, and that's all right. I found RTT allowed me to speak to the science of how the mind works and gave me a language that opened doors for people. So people who may not have been interested in the shamanic healing were now open to a deeper healing through being able to relate to what I was saying with RTT. And I also find that the blend has been incredibly powerful. So having the RTT is huge. And then I draw a lot on the shamanic skills, and it kind of depends on the session and the client. And they kind of weave them all together now that I'm confident with each one. But that's kind of where I find my sweet spot.
Yeah. And so where were you when you got trained in RTT? Did you already have a business? What happened before you were trained and then after you got trained in RTT?
Before I trained in RTT, I did have a business. It was very slow. And a lot of that was my own confidence around being seen, around feeling worthy, around being able to relate to the right people. And I thought, okay, RTT is going to help me with this. And it did. It gave me a language. It also helped me deal with my inner stuff to get over all of those inner obstacles that are so common as you embark on this journey. And then that really kind of elevated my business. And so it's been in a lot better place since then.
Yeah. And that's actually something that I forget to mention to people when they say, I don't feel confident, right, about like starting a business or even going into this training. And I think we can all probably attest to this, but part of the training is your own healing and your own like getting over those limiting beliefs and getting over, like RTT actually helps with that, right? So
100%. So huge.
Yeah. So you're not just getting trained, you're also fixing, some of the things and blocks that you have going on between the ears.
Removing barriers.
Yeah, for sure. Osman, what about you? Did you already have a business before RTT?
I was working as a cybersecurity consultant, and I was helping people to promote themselves on social media. So the reason I got into RTT is I didn't have the drive and the passion for IT anymore. So I got married, and she asked me, hey, what is it that you passionately do? I was like helping people, getting to the next stage in their life. She's like, why don't you go do that? So I had this belief that I needed to have a certificate to promote myself. And I met in February Marisa. I'm like, well, let's get on and get the certification done. And as you said, when you're working and giving sessions and receiving sessions, you get things coming up which help you to progress in your personal life and business life.
So then you had a business, but it was totally different. And then you completely switched. So now are you running two businesses or did you let that one go and now you're full kind of RTT coaching?
I combined it into two. I was consultant focused on cybersecurity. Now I'm consultant and helping coaches to set up business and processes, right? What I realized is that people in the RTT community, but also starting coaches, they want to help people, but they don't know where to start. They don't have processes, right? As we said, Marisa has a system that we use and we can repeat and go over again. But how many of us have truly a system that we use each time we work with a client? I guess it's like on spot, I need to do something. So that's where I combined it. And now I'm giving sessions and boot camp where I help people to grow.
Yeah, so you're actually helping people with the logistics of launching their RTT business or otherwise.
Like the complete package, if I can say that. I always say, your mindset is the limiting factor in you not attracting clients. As she mentioned, if you fear yourself to put out, right, you're not going to get clients. If you don't have a system, you're not going to perform always optimal. If you're not promoting yourself, you're not going to perform.
Right. You kind of spoke to this already, Monica, right? You had a business and this kind of helped you do it better. Is there anything else that you can, share with us about what happened after you got trained in RTT?
Look, I studied RTT. One of the things why I studied RTT, because I want to get global and I want to work with people all around the world. Before RTT, I mostly worked with people in Argentina. That's where I live. So one of the things I love is that it is a global company and I have met beautiful people from different countries and that makes it so interesting. And another thing I want to say, when you study RTT, you practice a lot and you heal your things too. And when you heal something, you can work with that much better with other people. So it is really important for all of us therapists to have a good experience because that's what we transmit afterwards to our clients and what makes our therapies really effective. And I learned a lot of marketing too. That's the other thing, because as a psychologist, I was trained a lot in how to help people. But here in the university, they teach you no marketing. So in the RTT course, I learned a lot of marketing, and that helps a lot too.
Yeah. Is this the module, like Build a Busy Practice?
Yes.
Is that the one?
Yes, it is building a busy practice. And you really build the busy practice, as the words say. Yay.
Yeah, actually talk more about that. So I had asked you guys a few questions right before we kind of all got together. And one of the things that stood out to me for you is the ability to attract new clients. So we know you have obviously like tons of experience. You probably have clients that you've been seeing for a long time, but what do you do to attract new clients?
The first thing I do all what I do the best I can. So I help people and they recommend me. The other thing that I do when I speak about RTT and therapy and NLP, I fascinate. I'm happy with it. People listen to me and they get happy and they ask me for a session or they recommend me. That's what I do. Sometimes I may be in talks like this. Sometimes I make group events, so I'm more visible. But the most important is that I do my work well done and I love it and I'm fascinated about it.
Yeah, that's so important because I think a lot of people just go straight into like the logistics of it. If you are passionate, like people feel that energy too from you. So whenever you're talking to people, are you just saying like people you just meet?
I did it a lot because I had already clients.
Yeah.
So when I was studying, I told all my clients that I was studying this that is new and it is so good and they wanted to experience it.
Got it.
And
yeah.
so I started giving RTT sessions while I was studying. And they started recommending me. And it's something that is going on now too. The people take sessions, they recommend me, they get to the results they want in less time. Because in RTT, many people say it's one session. I normally give from 1 to 3 sessions on one issue. Yes, every 21 days, from 1 to 3. And afterwards, maybe people want to work on another issue or not. We leave that open. For me, that's the way it works best.
So just upfront, you say we're going to need probably more than one session.
Yes, and I know Marisa's the whole team is working like that now too. Because it's easier and I think that people get better results because the mind works with repetition. After the RTT session, I give them a recording which they listen for 21 days. And then we have another session and another recording that starts repeating. And people really change that way. They change their images, they change what they say to themselves, they change what they can do afterwards.
Yeah, that's powerful. Let me go, Abigail, to you, because from the business side, it sounds like you really kind of had to do everything right from RTT and really get your business going. What was like the biggest obstacle that you faced or something that you wish you kind of hindsight, like kind of looking back, you wish you knew?
Oh, I think it was really that it's just okay to be myself and to be weird, and I'll get more into like practical in a minute, but yeah, it was realizing, because I now mentor women on super shamanic stuff and they all really, really want that. And they go on podcasts and they're niched into that area. And lots of people want that, but I had a belief that the world didn't want that because I wasn't seeing that in my neighbors and friends. So just giving yourself permission to be yourself and trusting that your people are out there. They will find you, but you have to put yourself out there in order for them to see you. On the more kind of tangible side, kind of to what Monica was speaking to, I started working with people in longer packages. So I found that I can go a lot deeper and help people in a lot more ways and kind of taking them through a journey of healing and then connecting with their purpose and living a more fulfilling life. And for me, that's how I like to work. I like to kind of go for a longer, bigger transformation with people. And I kind of see, each issue as one layer or one obstacle that could be in the way of kind of being in their full fulfillment and potential. And doing that has made the business side a lot easier for me because I am able to kind of book out my calendar for longer. I don't need to market as much because I kind of know my people and my people know me. And so it's more of a longer term relationship.
Do you feel like you have a niche right now?
Yeah, I think my niche is spiritual women who are, we all have a medicine to share with the world, I believe, an important one that's unique to each of us. And so my niche now is women who are meant to be healers and light workers and are looking for guidance to heal themselves, to heal their bodies and their spirit, and to step into their power and their purpose.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit more about what that program looks like?
So I have a mentorship program that goes for 6 months, and then another 6 months after people who want to train to do this kind of healing and coaching. We meet weekly over Zoom, and it's really focused on initially healing and working with their energy and their body and their mind and thoughts and clearing all of that stuff out, working in partners, helping each other to heal, and then really kind of stepping into connecting with their intuition to know what their purpose is, and then to kind of live that in the world and clear any obstacles that may come up after they realize what that is.
Yeah. And then, so are you doing similar to Monica, kind of like the every 21 day kind of RTT sessions, or how do you kind of structure?
Yeah. So I also offer RTT sessions just one-on-one, and that is I do every 21 days because I recognize that it is good to them to have that recording to listen to it repeatedly. Another thing I offer is, coaching in conjunction with RTT. So we have an RTT session, and then 2 weeks later, we have a 1 hour coaching call to kind of integrate and process what came up in the session and kind of help work through anything else that's coming up currently. I find some clients just need more consistent support or want more consistent support, and it really helps them to navigate what they experienced in the RTT session.
Awesome. And I know for you, like having streamlined operations was one of your big things, and it's also kind of where you help people. Can you take us into some of your kind of running day to day, or however you handle your business? What does that look like?
What I do is a 6-week program. It's in Startup Incubator, right? Especially for coaches. And what I realized, like Abigail, Monica said, is that people, especially when they're making a change, they get all these obstacles, but there's the self-generated fear of putting yourself out, procrastinating, but then blaming on others. So what I do is in the 6 weeks, I first say, the first 3 weeks focused on your brain, focused on changing you. I use RTT, but there's daily worksheet, like Abigail said, to reinforce the change, right? Some people need more support, so I have a daily accountability to keep the momentum up. I call it an incubator because in that 6 weeks, I really want to launch you so you have income. You're not dependent on me. And if you come in as an RTT practitioner, I say, practice on yourself, make your own recording with practical side of business, like how they set up their business, how to find their ideal client, where should they market. That's where I help, because what I realize is that there are wonderful souls who can really heal energy, RTT, but they don't know how to start their marketing. They're like, should I be on LinkedIn or Facebook? I'm like, who do you want to serve? That's important. You want to be where your ideal clients are.
What's your niche?
That's something that's changing as I'm growing and getting new clients. But what I realize is that people come to me for business clarity and finding their own niche.
So entrepreneurs, right? Or people who are kind of helping others.
Yes.
Yeah. And in your 6-week program, do you start with RTT, or how is RTT integrated into that program?
Awesome question. That's what the first time we use. So the first time you onboard, we have half hour, we get to know each other, and then we book 2-hour RTT session. And the reason for that is to have a baseline, right? The baseline, I think, is very important to see your progress day to day, but also like when you want to lose weight, you don't want to measure yourself every day, but you want to reinforce that you are being healthy. So that's why I use the RTT session. And on the 6th week, before I send them out, I give them a special RTT session focused on confidence and growing their business.
Nice. So we kind of got all this spectrum, right? Like 6 weeks to 6 month type programs. And that just shows you kind of all the different ways that you can use RTT and kind of combine it with Osmond for you with your IT consulting skill sets, and Abigail with your shamanic healing. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Monica, I think you already touched on this, but I just, kind of want to continue to pick your brain just to see what else there is, because another thing that stood out for me in the survey that I sent beforehand is that you have high repeat clients. And I think one of the questions, right, is, okay, if RTT is so good, right, and it's healing everyone, right, how are you getting high repeat clients?
Because first the clients come because they have a problem, and then they go on coming because they want to get better on what they do and on what they are. And the first part, we clean up blocks and things of the past, and afterwards I help them with RTT, NLP, and coaching to make a better life in general. And that's why I have repeated clients, and I like working that way. And I want to say something too. I have a general niche that is working with adults and couples. I work a lot with fertility, having excellent results for women and couples who want to have a baby and couldn't conceive, with self-esteem, with couples, with relationship issues. And in business too, people who want to make their business grow. Mostly I work on that, and I love anxiety too. A little bit of everything, because I am trained in all that, and I love to do different things. I would get bored if I did the same the whole time. So I just take different types of clients.
Yeah, thank you. Because I did ask everybody about their niche. What about in general? Like, do you guys think that people need a niche, or how do you come to it?
When you start, you can get a niche. And when you get good at your niche and you learn more and you study more, you can make different things like Marisa does. Marisa doesn't have a niche. She works with different issues. And once you know how to work with clients, it's helping solve different problems. And one thing more,
Yeah,
I want to say,
please.
I give mostly sessions in Spanish because I live in a country where Spanish is spoken, and I just translate from English to Spanish in my mind because I'm much more fluent in Spanish, and I give sessions in English too, both.
I find that with the niche, I feel like it can be a stressful thing in the beginning. Like, what's my niche? Do I need a niche? I need a niche. For me, I just worked with a lot of different clients, and I love the variety too. It was great. And then I just started finding specific clients coming and those sessions being ultra potent. And so I just kind of followed that feeling. But in the beginning, I didn't stress too much about needing to know my niche, because I didn't really know until I worked with a lot of different kinds of people. And in that process, for me anyway, it kind of naturally unfolded. And I still work with, fertility and different people because it is interesting. It mixes things up, and it's good to, connect with all different kinds of perspectives and people. But I feel like a niche will naturally unfold. It's not something that needs to be stressed about.
Yeah. Husband, do you want to add anything to that?
Maybe for the beginners, like you said, a lot of people are looking for a niche. If you have an existing business, what you're already doing, you can bring in clients from there. You don't need to niche down. If you have a lot of network, which you can market yourself to, you don't need to niche down. But if you're like, you want to go from zero to hero, you don't have any testimonials, gather testimonials, see what you like the most, right? If it's fertility, market yourself as fertility using these testimonials. If you don't like it, post and say, I'm giving testimonials in this specific area. See what you like. And from there on, market yourself in a niche, because that way you're going to get more attraction. Otherwise, it's kind of what they call shotgun approach. You're going to try to speak to everyone and nobody's going to understand you.
Yeah.
Or maybe one or two. That's my advice.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing up testimonials, because that's so powerful. And it's such a simple thing, but somebody talking about their experience with you is obviously like so much more powerful than you talking about your own expertise and experience. So, and it's really just about asking for it. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to actually touch on this, but most people are totally willing to just write something up for you, or even get on video and share their experience about their session with you. Do you guys have any specific tips on getting testimonials?
I totally agree. Testimonials are huge. Something I send out is after we've worked together and after they've had some time, to kind of listen to their recording, I'll send out a feedback form that has kind of structured questions that I would want them to touch on in the testimonial. And then I'll ask them if I can turn that into a testimonial for them, and I'll kind of build it and put it together in a way that sounds good and send it to them for a review. And if they like it, then I post that. I also include a link to my Google page so they can leave a public review there. So I find, it's less barrier to entry. If people don't have to think of what to write and how to structure it, they can just answer some questions in a form. Yeah. And so I have a lot of responses that way too.
Yeah, I like those. Yep. The thumbs up from Osman. I like Google reviews too, just because I have a review thing on my website too, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know if people are going to think, like, it's a real tool, right? Like anyone can add reviews, but for some reason I just feel like the Google, because it's like an externally managed, I just feel like there's some sort of credibility or trust with that, like, because you can see the person's profile and you can see who left it and all of that. So I like using both website for just because it's easy, but also Google reviews.
And it's good for SEO too, the Google reviews for your website.
Yeah.
So what I do with those who I help for testimonials, I send them a structure. And it's really basic. It's like, introduce yourself. What was the presenting issue? How did I help you? How does it look afterwards? And would you recommend me? I ask them, look, it doesn't need to be fancy, just be who you are. It doesn't need to be longer than a minute, just to the point, and take the people through the process. Because that's what we're all curious, right? Sure, you solved the problem, but how did Osman do it?
Right. Yeah. I do want to kind of continue to talk about repeat clients, Abigail, especially for you, because you have a 6-month program. Do you even focus on repeat clients, or what does that look like? And then Osman, I'm actually interested with you as well, because you're helping someone launch something new or kind of get things going. So then after that, curious on both sides, right? Like, what does repeat clients look like for both of you?
Yeah, I have a 6-month program, and that also extends into a full year-long program. It was intentional. Like, I was doing one-off sessions with people, and it was helpful for most people. Some people kind of just stirred up a lot of stuff and they really needed more to kind of move fully through it. And I got to a place that, for me and how I meant to serve, I started feeling like a disservice to not offer these longer programs. With that, I read a book I really liked called Retreat and Grow Rich. And she kind of talked about this framework that you can follow for taking people through a journey, through transformation of where they are now and where they want to be. And that journey often takes more than one session. We're going kind of on an adventure together. And it took a lot of pressure off me to fix their whole life in one session, because I wanted to help them really be happy and fully fulfilled and sharing their gifts with the world. And so, it often takes 6 months to a year to do that. And because I also work with people who've experienced a lot of trauma, it takes a little more time, but we go a lot deeper because of that. And it becomes even more potent for them in the end.
Osman, what about you? What does repeat clients look like for you?
Well, I think Monica mentioned in the beginning, when you solve one issue, the next presenting issue comes. So, for example, one client that I helped, she came to me, wonderful person, but she didn't dare to do Instagram Live. I said, why do you need to do Instagram Live? And she was like, well, that's what everyone else did. I need to do that too. So we got over that. But the next step for her was to get on sales call to sell her services. So the repeat customers comes because of that. Even a coach with 50 years, I'm still getting coached every day by different coaches. Mm-hmm. I forgot what the saying was, but it's like, new you, new problems. Mm-hmm. Because as you're growing, the presenting us had different challenges 5 years ago than it is now. Mm-hmm. And from 5 years from now on, we will have different challenges. Mm-hmm. And that's where the repeats come from.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we're never ending, right? Just as humans. So I think it's there's no end to us. So there's always kind of another level, right? And there's always blocks at that new level. Some people are just I don't know if I can do this, right? I don't even know if I can become an RTT therapist. Do you have any advice for someone who just feels like...
Well, I think you have to clean the blocks of the past and do yourself a good mental programming, and you have to study too. It doesn't come alone. It's not enough to say, I'm an amazing therapist. You study, you practice, you open to learn, to grow a new business, and then it starts coming. And as the more you practice, the better you get at it. It's important to clean the blocks, because when we are blocked, we just don't learn, we don't practice, and we don't grow that way. And when I start having confidence, I practice, and to be an excellent therapist, it is necessary to practice a lot, to work on your own blocks and to practice a lot.
Abigail, and what would your advice be for someone who's saying, I don't know if I can do this?
I fully agree with Monica. Clearing the blocks is number one. And then you have the space to learn, to be, to develop mastery in your skill. But everyone can do anything. It really just depends on the beliefs. The beliefs are the lens through which you see the world, and the world is filled with infinite possibility. The only limitation is your blocks, and that's changeable. That's easy because you can control your inner world. You can't control what everyone else is doing. All that you can control is what's happening inside. And as you change that, everything around you changes.
Yeah. And I know that you're big on following your intuition, right? Just kind of like what feels right for you. What does that look like, right? When someone's making this massive decision of, should I even do this training?
With intuition, I feel it really comes to the mind-body connection, because it's in the body. And when, we get worried, like, should I do this? Should I not? We kind of get up in our heads. And that's not where the knowingness comes from. It really comes from the heart, from the gut. And so just allowing yourself to breathe deep into your belly, maybe even putting a hand on your heart and just breathing into it and beginning to tune into your heartbeat and feel into that. And you can ask yourself, you could even say, I should do this training, and seeing if your heart beats louder or quieter. And that's kind of a way that you kind of tune in somatically, because the body doesn't lie. The mind goes all over the place, but the body knows what you want.
Ooh, I love that. Practical tips. I can feel myself breathing right now deeper just with that. Awesome. What about you, from just I know you work with people with procrastination and money blocks. What advice would you give on both of those aspects?
So just to give one advice on what the ladies before said,
Sure.
I think what is important is also, if you decide to join, try to team up with someone, have an accountability partner. Don't overwhelm yourself, because we get this urge to do everything at once. It's something new and we want to do that. And then we burn out. So don't do that. Take accountability, start one by one. That's my advice. That's also the part of procrastination comes in, right? Because we have this huge goal. We're here at the bottom and we want to be on top. But we need to take the stairs. So you can finish the course in 6 months, and there are 8 modules, if not more. So try to do 1 module each month, for example. If we look at the RTT solely, do not overwhelm yourself. Plan it ahead and try to commit it to it. When it comes to money blocks, I suggest that you receive, if you're in the process, if you're in the RTT, ask for a session. If you're not there, the most important thing is to know that you are enough. Be open to receiving. What I realized from my clients, the money blocks comes from, as a child, they had some experience where they didn't feel enough, or they felt that if they were seen, they could be heard. And in these times, when you're adult, if you have money, you are seen. It's a status symbol, you're buying nice things. So people don't want it. They're pushing that. And that means money block.
Nice.
And that comes back into procrastination. You don't want to be seen. You don't want to earn money. So you're going to sabotage yourself. And then you end up in this loop.
Yeah. And on that note, each person here is taking new clients, is available for a discovery call. And I'll put all of their information either on the screen here, or I'll link it below. So if you still feel blocked, if you're still thinking, where do I go? I don't know. I don't have clarity, or I feel like I'm self-sabotaging myself. Everyone here can help. It really is all kind of going in here. And as Abigail said, you can solve for that. I just want to give each one of you just a moment to give advice.
RTT works. They have great system. They have great mentors. It works. But are you willing to work on yourself? That's the personal side. And you have to work on yourself to make it work. When it comes to business, that's a whole nother side. The reason for that is RTT helps you mentally. For business side, you need practical knowledge, you need hands-on experience. Like Monica said in the beginning, there's this wonderful module that will help you to build, but you need to apply to it. Don't be afraid. It works if you put in the work.
I want to share that hypnotherapy is very powerful because we work with the unconscious mind, and the unconscious mind is much more powerful than the conscious mind. And when we change our unconscious beliefs, the beliefs which we have since we were very little, our life really changes and we can have a wonderful life.
You have a medicine that no one else has. You have gifts that nobody else has, and only you can share that with the world. And if you don't share that, the world doesn't get to see it. So whatever your fears are, whatever your blocks are, you can get through those. You just have to do it anyway. You just have to keep moving. And if that's RTT, a lot of people here found it really powerful. I have. Maybe that's the right path. But whatever your path is, don't stop. Keep going and keep moving through, because you will get to the other side of it. And like Monica said, you can have a beautiful life. And that's kind of what it's all about, being happy.
Yeah. Obviously, all of us have had such good experiences with RTT, started businesses and all of that. But at the end of the day, I think it's really up to each person to know whether this is right for them. This isn't, none of us are being asked to do this. We're not getting paid to do this. We're just here to share our experience, share practical tips about what worked for us, but only you will know, right? And I think each one of us has our own internal work to do as well. And the journey sometimes takes us to some places and sometimes it doesn't. And either way, I think only you can know. I think that's really it. Again, I actually forgot to mention where everybody's from. So I want to do that before we close, because I just think it's absolutely fascinating that we're all here together. So Osman's from Amsterdam, Netherlands, he lives in Amsterdam, Netherlands now. Monica mentioned this already, but she's currently in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And Abigail is in Calgary, Canada. And I'm right now in Chicago, Illinois, in the US. So thank you guys so much for spending your time just to help others.